Yes, hello. Hope you're enjoying the festive season and getting ready for New Year's. So this presentation is the second and final part of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So I've just made a slight variation here. The two focus points of this Bible verse are the belief that God truly exists, for he that comes to God must believe that he is. And the second focus point is the act of seeking to be one with him. He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So I'm going to start with all the collection of readings. In entering, each soul comes to manifest that it has not so well learned in the lessons of hope, patience, tolerance, brotherly love, kindness, gentleness, meekness, and such. These are the fruits of the Spirit, and the manifestation of these attributes in the experience of each soul brings, as the Master of Masters has given, that awareness of self of the soul that is the gift of the Creator, that is the birthright of every individual, that may be wasted in attempting to gratify those things that are of the earth or of the carnal forces, and thus become weakened and less aware of its experience or existence in the affairs of man. Yet the soul finds its experience no matter in what environment, and the environment is that created by what the soul, the inner self, does do about the manifestations of creative influences in the relationships to its fellow man. And it continues, for as has been given of old, the Father needeth not any attribute or any help the man may do, yet each soul may be a channel, a God, a Savior, a friend in the time of need. For those that would find God must believe that he is, and in the daily walks of life give expressions of that which is an attribute that self would attribute to the Father. And thus may the soul become in patience, in hope, in faith, in love, aware of the Father's indwelling within it, that each soul has an advocate with the Father through the gift of the Christ into the soul and into the experiences of men, is manifested in the experience of most all peoples. There is that access then, that way to the throne of grace, of mercy, of peace, of understanding within thine own self. For he has promised to meet thee in thine own temple, in thine own body, through thine own mind, and as he has given of old, as he has made manifest in the flesh, as he has spoken to thee and to thy fellow man again and again, consecrate your mind, your body, purge the same in a manner that to thee in thine own consciousness has made and does make thee as receiving thy Lord thy God, and then enter into the Holy of Holies within thine own consciousness. Turn within, see what has prompted thee, and he has promised to meet thee there, and there shall it be told thee from within the steps thou shouldest take day by day, step by step. Not that some great exploit, some great manner of change should come within thine body, thine mind, but line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. For it is, as he has given, not the knowledge alone, but the practical application in thine daily experience with thy fellow man that counts. And it continues, not that one seeks out this, that, or the other manner, or the other channel, for lo, he is within thine own self, yet without, that he may guide, guard, direct thy ways day by day. It is just in living those things in the material manner that are the fruits of the Spirit, that bring with them their reward, which maketh for the understanding within thee Love ye one another, show forth gentleness, kindness, speak softly, even to those that are harsh. Upbraid not, condemn not, be long-suffering. Be patient even with thine own self, not as some men count patience, but as an activative principle, as an activative experience in thine own self. For as the Master of Masters have said, in patience possess ye, do you become aware of thine own soul. See, know, feel, understand that thy body is but the shell, the shadow, the encasement of thy soul. With thy mind that is both spiritual and material, that partakes of heaven, yea, and of hell also. For as he is given, as heaven is his home and earth, his footstool, as ye are in me, and I in thee, and I in the Father, so abide ye, that ye may know. And then it continues here with the final part of this reading. Not that then which maketh afraid, not that which is of fear, not that which is of trembling, but the love, the peace, the patience, the mercy that casteth out fear, the patience that turneth away wrath, the mercy that doeth good even unto those that speak evil of thee, who despitefully use thee, who say unkind things about thee, speak gently. These make for that within self which brings the awareness such that thy face, thy body, shines even as a light unto him. For if he abides with thee, who can make thee afraid? Will he abide with thee? As you call, so shall I hearken. For by what judgment are you to be judged? Inasmuch as you do it unto the least of these my children, you do it unto me. Keep the faith that thou hast had. Know he is. And as ye seek him, he rewards those that diligently seek him. How personal is thy God? Just as personal as ye will let him be. How close is the Christ as was manifested in the physical body, Jesus? Just as near, just as dear as ye will let him be. Oft ye may ask from thy inquiring mind, when I so desire to know him, why then do I not see, do I not hear? How long, O Lord, how long? Look not for a sign as he gave, but be and ye are as one with him. These become not as trites, not as sayings. They must be experienced by self. They may not be experienced by merely being told. You live them. As you live in me, and I in the Father, ask what you will, and it will be done unto thee. You wait then, knowing, he knoweth what thou hast need of before you ask. Then you say, why ask? In the love of thine own children, is it those who ask, or those who do not ask, that make a response? Not that ye love one more than the other, not for impunity, but a reciprocal reaction. Those things are as God is, and they that would know him must believe that he is, and most of all act that way. Should I hope and seek for personal experiences or contacts with Jesus as a personality now? As has been indicated, this may be, but this ye live, not as a desire for self-exaltation, that is, self-proof, self-evidence, but it is evidence in thee when ye are in thy living, in thy thinking, in thy acting, one with him. Then and thus, how hath the angel given? As ye have seen him go, so will ye see him come. Were those just as words? No. Thou hast seen him oft in the acts of others, and the personality you call by another name. Yet ye may see him, and when he speaks, be not afraid, it is I. Know he is near, and in the breaking of bread you may know him. In my life reading you say, if ye would know him, you must endure. What is meant by him, and what character of experience must I endure to know him? This is as has been given again and again, in that, as you just said, endure. That is, endure the unkind things that may be said about others. Endure that which is of the world. For as he said, you are in the world, but be not of the world, even as I am in the world, but not of the world. That is, the imaginative forces that impel the activities are then to be creative, and in so doing, if it requires the self-sacrifice, if it requires this or that experience, that is enduring. But we are looking as he gave. I go to prepare a place. If it were not so, I would have told you that where I am, there you may be. I am. Who shall I say has sent me? I am that I am. Does it not all remain then as a whole? For without Abraham, without Moses, yea, without David, what need could there be that Melchizedek, that Enoch or Joseph or Joshua should again come in the flesh, fulfilling all? Had ye fulfilled all? When ye have, you are one with him. Are you not? Is it not a reckoning? It is. In analyzing the body-mind, also those purposes and ideals which have been and may be the ideals of this entity, one, as this entity learns by experience that there are things in which the entity may apply itself, and there are things and conditions in which the entity may not apply itself. Yet the Lord thy God is one. Thus, these few simple rules may apply in the experience of this entity. First, you must believe that God is. Thus, you may believe that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. In opening and interpreting the experiences of the entity in this life to a more perfect understanding. Know there is the straight and narrow way. They who seek same may find him. But there must be the application of self towards the ideals presented through those very impulses which brought this to bear in thy experience. Thus may it be summed up, as ye would that others should do to you, do ye even so to them. This is the law and the prophets. These activities then bring definite experiences for the body, but these should not be sought other than as that which may indeed be a lesson to the body, and thus fulfill all of those obligations created by faltering in the activities in the earth, if these are applied in the light of Christian faith, as may be said, is said by the Master himself. Study then to show thyself approved unto God, a workman not ashamed, rightly dividing the words of truth, and keeping self unspotted from the world. These be the manners. Know indeed the spirit is willing, if ye are in soul and purpose ready to accept the Christ consciousness that taketh away sin. And if sin is removed in purpose, in desire, and replaced by hope, determination, and the living of that in the daily life as ye profess such, so may it be unto thee. For he spoke not in vain, neither did those words mean something only to those 12 to whom he spoke at the mount. Whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, believing, ye shall have in the body. What ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in the heaven. What ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then to attain, one must first believe that he is, and that he is able to keep all promises he hath made to the children of men. For as he gave, who is my brother, my mother, my sister? He that doeth the will of the Father, the same is my mother, my brother, my sister. Does the communication between those who have passed into the spirit plane and those on the earth depend on previously established relationships, on understanding and love, or upon what? As the tree falleth, so will it lie. Because there are changes in the dimensional conditions, does not alter that which is known in the earth plane as desire. If the desire is in that direction, that there may be an association with, and aid to, a seeking of such associations, then only the means, the channel, the way, the course is necessary to complete the communication. The attunement of that materially known as the radio may offer an illustration for this. If there is the desire that the communication be with those from plane to plane, the attunement of an individual in the material or earth plane to the attunement of the entity in the spirit or fourth dimensional plane is necessary. Remember the first premise: as the tree falleth, so does it lie. If there is the desire on the part of those in the spirit or fourth dimensional plane to be communicated with, and the same element of desire is attuned from another plane, stratum, sphere, or condition, then such may be done. Hence, it may truly be said that all factors have their influence, desire the ruling one, and that desire must be attuned to the same vibration of the one in another plane as the radio. For who of those seeking would seek his face must know, believe that he is attuning their abilities, their efforts in that direction, acting, feeling, knowing that there is the response. Does communication further or retard or not affect the spiritual progression of those in spirit life? It does all. There are the same elements as in material. For as is known, that which has materialized into matter is of the elements that are dematerializing or dematerialized, and where aid may be lent, there must be the desire, even as seen, known, understood by many. Those desires have carried on an entity on to heights that are detrimental to be called into association with purely materialization or material. For all are given to that to which they have attuned or builded. That is of both the material and spiritual essence of faith, of truth, fact, condition, whether positive, negative, or static. Okay. Explain what the divide between the soul and spiritual forces is, how manifest, and how we may study self to gain the approach to that divide. This is of the spiritual entity in its entirety. The superconscious is the divide, that oneness lying between the soul and the spirit force within the spiritual entity. Not of earth forces at all, only awakened with the spiritual indwelling and acquired individually. So in that diagram, you have the soul and the superconscious of the soul, and then you connect it to the spiritual forces. And it's awakened spiritually within the individual. How may the individual think, study, and act to acquire this awakening? Study to show thyself approved unto him, rightly dividing the words of truth, keeping self unspotted from the world, avoiding the appearance of evil. For as is given, those who would seek God must believe that he is, and a reward of those who would seek him. That is, that the Creator has that oneness with the individual to make that oneness with him, as is given in the conditions as is manifest through those who would seek the oneness with God. For only those who have approached sufficient to make the mind of the physical, the mind of the soul, the mind of the spiritual one with him may understand or gather that necessary to approach that understanding. So this 921 are all Morton Blumenfall's readings, and I think most of those readings, if you study all of 900, are very interesting. And that was before, I think, so about 1931, and then they broke up, separated, and then Edgar Cayce went in the direction of the Search for God readings. But still, all the 900 readings, very interesting. Highly recommend studying it. Now, due to certain conditions in the entity or 900's childhood, and also due to the study of what the earth terms the supernatural or the superman or the spirit, the entity, Morton Blumenfall, is often uncertain or even lacking in courage. Give that which will stay this detrimental condition, that which will make the entity better understand and feel at home, at ease in the creation of life in conditions that are unfolding before or in the mind of the entity. Now the answer given, these conditions and elements as the body and mind desires are the results of growth and persistence in the way of development and may not be attained by any given rule or order. The response to the unfolding of manifold questions as regarding training in childhood, study or meditation, all find their answers in development in the inner man and are but the reflections of the study. For as man reflects and studies conditions, circumstances, each desires that will be the sign, the wonder, the manifestation in the material form, while in spiritual thought and spiritual development. As has been given, no sign shall be given a stiff-necked generation. For those having eyes see not, having ears they hear not, lest I come and heal them. Then they that would seek, which includes Morton Blumenthal, must believe that he is, and is the rewarder of them that diligently seek him. For as been said of old, and has been given to the entity, the abilities for the correlation of every element has been given in the world as religious thought and study, may be correlated and given to a waiting and dying world through the efforts of the entity Morton Blumenthal. That he comes with fear and trembling, let the answer be as given by him of old, hearken unto the call, and answer, Here, my Lord, use me. For in the service of him there is joy, peace, understanding, brotherly love in those that make the wondrous, glorious life in service to man. For the greatest service to man is service to the Creator. For all is his, and the lending to the fellow man in understanding is service to the Creator. Do that. All heavens declare the glory of God. For in the higher realms of superconscious or the subconscious, which is an element of that superconscious, plus all radiated forces or contacts for which the entity has passed to reach that present condition, whether advanced or debased, comes this one force that in every manifestation of the superconscious forces to the subconscious, or even to the lowest material conscious or physical conscious, is that manifestation in those forms that would signify that consciousness from which same radiated, or as seen in this. As this entity Morton Blumenthal through that development of self in making the will of the individual or material conscious or the physical conscious, one with the subconscious that communicates with the superconscious or spiritual forces of the universe and their cosmic forces, position of recognizing the various conditions which may emanate or radiate through these various forms as has seen, and as each is brought into this consciousness of the entity as to how these various forces may manifest. This then presents itself as a memory, as a thought, as an experience to the entity, in no uncertain manner of not only the radiation of spirit force manifested in the material world, but of the good the entity may accomplish through things would the entity bring itself to that oneness, or to return to the first premise. Those that believe that God is, or would seek him, should first believe he is and act that way. That's the whole lesson. Now vision saw 5 candles or spikes and a man counting each spike or candle one at a time, gesticulating over each as he counted. They seemed to be candles, he said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did not grasp it, and he said to me, Now pay attention, watch closely. And he pointed to each candle as he counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the answer, in this vision from the superconscious and the weighing of the subconscious forces of the entity, there is given this emblematical condition, which represents the 5 lights or 5 phases of the entity's development in the study of the universal forces as manifested in the material world. And these are pointed out to the entity as the 5 steps necessary for the development of each entity, each individual, each force being in its coordination with the other, yet separated in the 5 distinct lights. First the knowledge, then the interest, then the acceptance of the conditions as being true, for as given those that would seek his face must believe that he is. Then the various consciousnesses, 3 in number, 5 conditions then in all. See? How to be interpreted in light of that which it signifies and how applied. that has been given, see, and may be used as the various lights in the illustration of those conditions and those theses and lessons as being prepared by the entity. The 5 lights, the 5 phases, the 5 conditions, the 5 things as are seen in every form and way and manner. What is barring, and how may I overcome the obstacles that will gain for me this last step in the gaining of a full concept of the life power as it manifests? With fear within self, that stumbling block to the mental forces, whereas, as is seen, those who would seek his face must believe that he is and is the rewarder of those who seek him, putting full trust, faith, and confidence in that power. This, for in him one succeeds, not in self. See? Vision, another vision. My interviewer, the forces need no cause of creation or reason for creative process. They are because they are just as 2 plus 2 equals 4 and always has and always will equal 4. They do exist, and then very loud and emphasized, they are real. This is as the direct statement to the consciousness of the entity of stated facts and conditions, and are from this point, the reasoning point, that is, they are, for as given, God is, and they that seek him must believe that he is, would they be able to become aware that he is. But when with secular reasoning there becomes that misunderstanding of the secular forces, there is that barrier built over which reason stumbles. See? Meaning that when I use the forces as, for example, I did or think I did in mental healing of 136, know that I am using them, that thoughts telepathically become deeds because thoughts are these forces in materialized psychic action. Correct? Correct. That where another has the faith, I may so influence the forces to reward that faith to effect healing. Yet the 139 mind had unlimited faith, and I tried and seemed almost to succeed, then failed. Why? In the same manner as the why, as was sought by those 10 who, though in the presence of the master, failed to cast out the demon. Not that the power was not sufficient, even as was demonstrated by the master, but that doubt that remains in the background of the finite mind of man, for of the earth is earthy. More power to him who would gain that full consciousness that would not turn aside when brought with the master for the elements of earthly position, condition, or favor. See? Just as the why did the entity turn aside when in place of earthly position and leave the master to pass on and seek the friendship even of those not known, yet desiring to impress same with the importance of the position of the body itself. See? And so in faith, so in the application of that ability to pass from one consciousness to another, that healing force in the material plane. And as is seen, there must be the full union of the forces. See? Certain physical aid may be necessary in medicine, osteopathy, operations, etc. Yet the master healed cripples and restored life to the yet sleeping dead. Not that I put myself in such a class. I merely seek a correlation and understanding as I strive might and main for the fulfillment of the promise given direct from him. In healing, in direction, there is, as is seen, that there are 2 consciousnesses to be made manifest with the one psychic or spiritual law. In the master being the law obeyed rather than the master obeying the law, for the master was the law. In man, this is as the borrowed light, for has been given. Let the light in thee so shine that others seeing may glorify that light. See, as the light was in him from the reflected glory of the Father, so may the light be in us through him, being one with the Father. The lesser light is the variation as heat, or cold, Whereas seen, the world is the fullness of force. That is of the one force in its modified activity through the various stages of that, as is said, and that consciousness of the medicine is as that necessary in the development of the individual as is necessary to bring the healing forces. For the healing force is in the spiritual force of him who gave all, and not in the medicine itself, but as the agent, as the reflected light of him who gave all. Yeah, so that's the end of Hebrews 11, verse 6. And that's the end, part 2 and final part. So I'll be doing another focus on another Bible verse. So I hope you have a happy new year of 2023. We welcome the new year and say goodbye to 2022. God bless.